Sonic's had many arcade games throughout the years, and in this video we'll be taking a look into one of the more obscure ones. If you're a Sonic fan, there's a chance you've probably heard of it, Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car, and if you've never heard of this one, it released only in Japan in 1991, and it's one of those arcade rides for little kids where, like, you're in a car and you go in it and there's a small little game you can play inside it. Sonic is a police officer and you have to drive around in his police car and, avoid other vehicles and stuff like that. It's pretty simple and it's only about a minute long or so. Well, interestingly enough, I came across this 4chan post on the /v board claiming that there's a Spanish dub of the game that exists. The post says, "Alright /v, this has been bugging me for years. You know that one arcade game where Sonic is a police officer that apparently only came out in Japan? I swear I played that as a kid, and it was even dubbed in Spanish. I live in Colombia, by the way. Why is it that no Sonic artist on the planet has ever talked about this? All I could find was a video of one of those machines in Spain." And he leaves a link to the video he mentioned where the game is being played in Spain. Now, hearing that there could be an obscure Spanish dub for Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car, I had to look into this right away. Of course, you could say that this guy could just be lying for attention or something, but honestly, this seems like a very odd and specific thing to lie about for attention, and the post itself didn't get any replies at all. To me, this just sounds like one of those things that does have a chance of being real, or at least there's also a chance that he could be remembering the game itself wrong, and it was actually the Japanese version, he just played it as a kid in Colombia. But nevertheless, I decided to look into it to see if something like this actually exists. I started off watching the video linked in the original post of the game being played in Spain, and yeah, it's just that. It's Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car, the machine and all being played in what seems to be some sort of mall or something in Spain. But unfortunately, at first glance, it seems like this is just the Japanese version that happened to make its way to Spain and they're just playing it there. There's no Spanish dub or anything. However, upon further inspection, there is one key difference. It's actually on the car itself, on the machine. The sticker on the front of the car says police in English rather than Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car. So that seems to indicate that there's at least one regional difference here in this Spanish version of the arcade machine itself, but the game in the machine is identical to the Japanese one. Next, I went to the Sonic Retro and the Sonic News Network pages for the game. Neither of those pages had any mention of any sort of Spanish dub, Spanish release, or any foreign release in general. However, interestingly enough, it did state that there was an English version that wasn't exported, but it was used in areas in Japan where a large number of English-speaking tourists went to. I haven't heard of this ever either, so I decided to look into this as well. I was able to find something, but it wasn't an English dub of the game. In a Sonic Stadium thread from a few years ago, someone was questioning if an English version did exist because they read what I just read on these pages. And the Spanish version with the English police text on it was mentioned here, and also someone found panels in the car itself with English text on it. So while I'd say there's a slim chance that an English dub exists or was planned to exist, I'd say that these English text panels are probably what these two pages were referring to. So this is an interesting find, but not exactly what we were looking for. I did some Google searches for Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car, Colombia. The very first thing I found was a Spanish Wikipedia page for the game, and it actually does mention a Spanish version of the game in Colombia. The page itself says, "There are records of a Spanish language copy in Colombia, but it was discontinued in 2019. Now, this is great to hear. Another place other than that original 4chan post claiming that there's some sort of Spanish version and it's also located in Colombia, the same place that the original poster from the 4chan post said he played the game too. However, there are a few problems here. This Wikipedia page doesn't have any sort of source to back this up, to see where this information comes from. And also discontinued in 2019, I'm not exactly sure what they meant by that. It doesn't make much sense to me because being discontinued, 2019 sounds a bit too recent for a game that first came out in the early 90s. So maybe they meant something else by that, I don't know, it could have just been worded a bit weirdly. But even without a solid source, this was a pretty good find that there's some other place out there that's claiming that there's a Spanish version in Colombia that's not just some random guy on 4chan. Next, I found a tweet from 2020 of someone who found the machine itself in Japan, and looking at the replies, here's someone else who's claiming to have played the game in Colombia. The user by the name of Niku Herrera says, "When I was a little boy, I found one of these in a restaurant in the middle of nowhere in Colombia. The restaurant was called El Parador Rojo, and that machine is one of the things that I'll always remember because I got in it." Now, he didn't say anything about the game having Spanish voice acting or anything, but he did play the game in Colombia as a kid, so there's a good chance that this guy played the obscure Spanish dub of the game that we're looking for. His Twitter account is still active, so I decided to actually ask him myself. I said, "Hey, I know this tweet is pretty old, but I have a quick question. Do you remember if the game was in Japanese or did it have a Spanish dub?" And thankfully, he actually responded. He said, "Oh snap, I kinda remember the game having a Spanish dub, but I was a really small boy when I played it, so I might be super wrong. I think the ROM was found and it's playable nowadays." Now, this is a great response. We have someone else who's not anonymous this time, who remembers playing the game in Colombia as a kid, and he somewhat remembers it having a Spanish dub, although he does say that it could just be his memory playing tricks with him since he was very small at the time. But hey, we have a very solid lead here. And not only that, but he actually has the name of the restaurant that he played the arcade machine in. Now, since this was a long time ago, I kinda doubt they still have the machine there, but I did look up the name of the restaurant, and it seems to have multiple locations throughout Colombia, and I looked at the images of the inside of the restaurant, and I couldn't find any pictures of the arcade machine being in there in any location. So there's a chance that they don't have it there anymore, since obviously this is probably way back. But if there's someone in Colombia that's willing to go to one of these locations and check, that's probably the biggest lead we have in discovering this obscure Spanish dub of the game. Now, for a while, this was the only actual solid evidence of a Spanish version that I found, and someone talking about it online, but as I was recording this video, I actually found another comment of someone claiming to have played the game in Colombia, and it also had a Spanish dub. This was in the comments of a Destructoid article from 6 years ago that's reporting on the ROM of the game being dumped online. The comment states, "Believe it or not, I found this one in Colombia, fully dubbed in Spanish and all. I knew this game ever existed." Now here we have yet another person who remembers this game dubbed in Spanish, who played it in Colombia as well. I clicked on his profile, and unfortunately the account didn't seem to be very active recently, and there were no real leads to contact him anywhere, so I just looked up the name Neurochild on Twitter, and I was able to find an account of someone with a similar name who also liked gaming and also spoke Spanish, so I reached out to him to ask if he was the same person and if he had any more information, and as it turns out, it was the same person. I asked if he had any more information on the game, like where it was located or anything else like that, and he actually had quite a lot to say. Those games, both the Sonic Patrol car and another one from Sega, aimed for children aged 3 to 7, were usually placed before the entrance of supermarkets. I happened to be in Colombia on vacation with my family back then, during the early 90s, and way before the PlayStation era, very few arcade games have full voice acting. And after finding out on Destructoid those games were intended for the Japanese market, I was surprised not only to find that particular Sonic game in Latin America, but also fully voiced in Spanish. It was never a rumor, and I don't know how many people know about this. And there we have it. This is our second solid lead. Yet another person that clearly remembers this game in Spanish in Colombia. And I think having found two other people outside of this original 4chan post that do remember this, and this second guy that I contacted remembers it much clearer than the previous person, I think this solidifies that this version of the game exists somewhere, and all that's left now is just to go out there and find it. Also, another thing he says is that he found this game like in front of supermarkets and not in like the same restaurant the other guy played. So there's definitely more than one out there, or at least was at one point, and this was back in the early 90s. So I'd say the best place to start is someone who's in Colombia. Maybe if any of you are, or know someone who could go out there and I guess look for it themselves, even though as hard as that sounds, I think that's our best option here. I guess starting with the restaurants mentioned earlier, since that was the only definite location where one was at one point, and then we know that there were others just around supermarkets, but that's pretty vague and hard to find, so I'm glad I was able to kind of uncover this and confirm that this did exist and isn't just some rumor or hoax, and it's out there somewhere. And hopefully this video will bring some more attention to this very obscure Spanish dub of Waku Waku Sonic Patrol car. If any of you watching happen to have some more information on this, please let me know. Either message me on Discord or leave a comment in the comment section down below. I'll also make a channel on my Discord server dedicated for anyone who wants to discuss this search or has any information, or if you're willing to help out with the search. So the link to that is in the description down below. Any information is appreciated, especially if you have any sort of videos or screenshots or anything that could help the search. If there are any updates to the search, I'll definitely be making a video updating you guys on everything. Anyways, that's pretty much it for this video. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.